This is the Jason Walker Show. Two-time National Sports Media Association Montana Sportscaster of the Year and three-time loser, the Jason Walker Show. The best local and statewide sports coverage, featuring the biggest guests from Montana.
Flint Rasmussen joining us here on the Jason Walker Show.
He's freaking exhausting, too. You used to dance a lot more. Yeah, I know, lady. I'm 51 years old now.
The NAIA Hall of Famer Mike Van Diest joining us here, Jason Walker Show. And is it just a deal where quarterbacks have to be good golfers?
Well, that's all they have time for. They don't work out. They don't lift weights. They don't do anything else. They might as well go get on the golf course and at least have some fun.
And from across the country,
Doug Gottlieb, our guest here on the Jason Walker Show.
End of the day, remember, it's your show. It's got your name on it.
Howie Mandel, our guest here.
Jason Walker, deal or no deal?
the Jason Walker Show, broadcasting from the Major Mortgage Man Cave. Here's Jason Walker.
Happy Tuesday, the Jason Walker Show, presented by Capital Collision Center and inside the Major Mortgage Man Cave. Big show coming up today. But this is going to be a great show. Might be the best show we've ever done because it's the one we're doing right now. So we're going to talk to Jim Carr, president of the NAIA, that's for sure. Josh Margolis will join us from Havre, talk about Havre Public Schools and athletics up there, and also on this day in history and a bunch more. And but we're going to get right to it because MHSA came out with some new rules today. Or not new rules, but new rulings. And basically what they've done is pushed winter sports back 3 weeks from November 19th to December 7th. Now competitions will start at the beginning of the 2021. And no one better to chat about that than the head coach of the Capital Boys basketball team, Guy Almquist. Coach, how are you?
I'm good, Jason. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
Well, yeah, it's been a while since we've chatted. So now that I don't golf with you anymore, so it's kind of tough to get a hold of you.
Yeah, well, I wish I could spend a little more time out there, but that just isn't the case.
That darn work gets in the way sometimes.
That and 4 kids, I've got my hands full. So.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, Coach, before I ask you about the Lakers or any of that, the new stuff coming out from MHSA, the board today, that the winter sports being pushed back 3 weeks. What's your initial thoughts?
Well, my gut reaction when I saw it, first, I sort of felt, everybody could kind of feel that something like this may be coming down the road. But my gut reaction is it's a good move. I think, I don't think the kids will miss much. They'll actually be able to have Thanksgiving at home with their families. And I think whatever allows us to have some form of a season, I'm going to be in favor of. And obviously with a spike of cases across the state, whatever the cause may be, and being in schools probably has to be part of that. I think if we can just hit that reset button a little bit and then come back in December and go forward, that might be a good move. So my gut reaction was it's a positive in terms of maybe it'll help us with COVID and also just try and guarantee our kids a season.
And that seems to be the question mark right now, is because winter sports are played indoors, and we've seen a lot with volleyball across the state this year with postponements or whatnot. But basketball, wrestling, close contact sports that are indoors, I think this is a good idea. And like you said, it's just we hope these kids get to have a season. And essentially, in the long run, two things. One, it means that these kids, you could lose 3, maybe 4 games before the holidays.
Mm-hmm. 4 games, yep.
Okay, and those are non-conference games, and I think those are probably going to be scrapped altogether, or now you have to work on a schedule again.
Yeah, I haven't heard either way. We certainly until today have been planning on going forward with the full schedule. I took a look at the calendar, and there is a way to, if we played 2 games a week, which AA coaches have been begging for a long time, instead of those 1 game weeks, that we could get in up to 17 games, I think. So I hope that they can just revisit the schedule and try and figure something out. Obviously, we're going to have a few more trips when you can't stay overnight, especially, Flathead Glacier. We'll have to take 2 trips up there instead of 1, that sort of thing. But yeah, I think it's a good move. And I guess the biggest question is sort of what is the end game? What, for a lot of us, we're trying to figure out what has to happen for things to kind of go back to normal with our seasons. And I'm not sure what that is. And I know that's a question that everyone across the country is trying to figure out. But, as long as, again, everything we do is for the kids, and if they get a season, I'm all for that. But I can tell you, as a volleyball parent, my daughter plays for Capital on the JV team at Capital, and I've seen parents doing anything and everything for the kids to have a season. They're wearing their masks. They're staying 6 feet away. So I think the lion's share of parents in Helena and across the state are doing anything and everything there for their kids. I know there's some examples of those that are not, but I do think it's certainly the minority, and hopefully that continues to improve.
Have you started learning how to coach with a mask on?
We've had a few discussions on that if that would be possible for me, and quite a few people came back and thought it'd be a big improvement. So, I maybe instead of taking the sport coat off this year, I get a throwing mask at some point. I don't know, but at least my facial expressions will be hidden to most.
Well, yeah, you just can't roll your eyes. That's still not covered.
Yeah, so I tend to, as you know, wear my emotions on my sleeve a bit. So a mask might not be all that bad.
Guy Almquist joining us here, Jason Walker Show on the Mike Miller State Farm Hotline. You've had some open gyms, and it's different because these fall sports athletes can't do anything until their sports season's done as far as open gyms for basketball. But how tough has that been, and how many kids are showing up?
Yeah, I think everybody understands why we're doing that, because we're trying to protect the kids that are having seasons right now. We certainly just have an open gym. We don't want to put anyone in jeopardy of having kids miss because we had an open gym. So we had an open gym the last week, first ones, and we had 17 kids. We probably had only missing probably 2 or 3 kids that could have been there that weren't. So the kids are anxious to do anything, of course, and to get in there and play. And then we've tried to find some time to get them in and shoot as well. And they've had during the school week, we've had to have them come in along with their cohorts. So they can come in on days they're in school, and if they're not in school that day, they can't. So certainly some different challenges that none of us could have ever expected to have to deal with. But again, you always say it, these kids are awful resilient, and oftentimes more resilient than adults. So I've been impressed by the kids, and I think everyone understands, why we're trying to limit the time together, and it's for the right reason. And
with that, there's certain things that you can do in open gyms, or even once you get to practice in December, coaches, like volleyball, you can't really run some plays because you have to change the ball out. The shooters can't. How is it going to be affected because of the certain rules?
Well, we did some of this stuff during the summer, during open gyms and some of the practices we had. So when you're playing live, the action can go, and then when there's a stop in action, you usually change out the ball and wipe it down. And during open gyms, everybody shoots. You try and keep them separated a little bit. During the summers, we separated them into 2 groups, an older group and a younger group, just in case there was something that happened. We wouldn't have to have everybody quarantined. So you'll continue to do stuff like that. You're going to keep the freshmen away from the JV varsity. The sophomore are going to be separate. You're going to, do all the same things that really we've been doing since mid-June. And of course, we've been, I think pretty successful at it.
Guy Almquist, our guest here, Jason Walker Show. You and I have talked on the record and, off the air before about this, but having kids get a break between fall sports and winter sports, it's sad that it took this to happen, but that'll be a nice break for up to a month, really, for some of these kids if they don't go far in the playoffs. A lot of these football guys that are going to be ended up playing, and volleyball that play both basketball too, or wrestle. But it'll be nice to have a break.
Yes, I've been somewhat of a lonely voice on that. We've taken some votes, and I've been on the minority, but I absolutely don't think we should start till after Thanksgiving. I think it's kind of a crime, and someone, as a parent of a kid, I've seen it now, just how hard that is from going from one sport to the next and not having a break physically, but maybe more so mentally.
Right.
And these kids, I hope that something that comes out of this is, if moving it back, is that when we do go back to normal, if that is such a thing, that we don't start the next season for our athletes till after Thanksgiving. I think, again, if we're truly doing what we can to help these kids, let them have Thanksgiving, let them have rest, let them be with their families, and then we'll have tryouts afterwards. So I don't have any issue with that, and I hope that's how it is when we come back next year.
I like that idea. All right, I'll give you a little bit here to pontificate about the Lakers winning a championship. I'm a Lakers guy, but I'm not. This isn't. I don't know if it means as much as the previous 16 because of the way it was all done.
Yeah.
And I'm not a LeBron guy either. So
I'm not a huge LeBron guy either. I don't dislike him. I certainly can appreciate what he does on the basketball court, but I definitely a huge Laker fan. But I gotta say, it did a little bit of a hollow feeling. I'm certainly glad they won, and it was nice to see AD get a championship, and just the thought of us tying the Celtics with 17, that kind of warms my heart a little bit. So that's probably the best part about it. But yeah, strange deal with the bubble, and obviously a successful thing that the NBA did. It's a little bit easier to do it with NBA than it is, baseball and NFL, as they're finding. But I'm glad they're able to have a season. I'm glad the Lakers are now officially tied with the Celtics, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Coach, we appreciate the time as always, and we'll check in once the practices get going. But I appreciate you being able to join us on short notice.
All right. Sounds good, Jason.
That is Guy Almquist joining us, the Capital Boys coach on the Mike Miller State Farm Hotline, and get his thoughts. As MHSA comes out today and says, yeah, we're gonna push back the seasons, and I think it's a good thing. You heard Coach talk about it, and it's not even, for me, it's not even about the COVID. Really, they want to take that 3 weeks or whatever for COVID-19. For me, it's more of, this is a great thing, and like we talked about at the end there with Coach Almquist, these kids get a break. They get a physical break now, they get a mental break, and they're not going straight from football to wrestling or basketball or volleyball to wrestling, sometimes wrestling or basketball. This is good. This is one of the best things that the MHSA has done over the last 6 or 7 months. But there you go. Speaking, we'll get your COVID update coming up, and in fact, let's just do that right now. 530 new cases, 19,611 total confirmed since March, 7,774 active cases, 11,620 recovered, 217 deaths, 294 currently in the hospital. 1,578 Yellowstone County, 1,116 Flathead. I'll give you the double A's. Cascade 619. Gallatin has exploded, 559. 238 in Lewis and Clark, 662 in Missoula County. And there's still 318 again, over 300 in Roosevelt County. Not sure what's going on over there. Tons of cases across the state. Just, 510 in Glacier. Be smart. Be safe. Okay? Wear your mask. Social distance. Okay? I'm not a big guy of the, we have to wear a mask. I get it. I said since the beginning, like, they can't enforce it. But wear it where you have to. Okay? I do. And I'm against it. Just wear it where you have to. It's really, just don't drive with it. For the love of everything. All right. We'll talk more about MHSA's other plans coming up later on, but we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk to Josh Margolis. He's a reporter up in Havre, and get his thoughts on what's going on in Hill County, because they have 184 active cases, and it's doubled. Their cases have doubled in the school at Havre High. But we'll talk to Josh when we come back. Jason Walker Show, presented by Capital Collision Center. Hang on.
New vehicles keep coming, and Capital Collision Center keeps earning certifications to repair them. They're Helena's newest GM-certified facility. No matter the make or year, they repair your car to manufacturer's standards and requirements, maintaining its safety and value. Montana state law says it's your vehicle, and it's your choice where you have it repaired. Choose Capital Collision Center, certified in GM, Subaru, and Nissan, and Helena's only shop certified in Honda, Acura, and Ford. When you value safety, go to Capital Collision Center on Euclid.
Have you thought about buying a home and just don't know where to begin?
Well, when it comes to one of the most important purchases one can make, we understand it can be frustrating and confusing, but it doesn't have to be. Let the Major Mortgage team help you with all your mortgage needs. Major Mortgage means major service, and we would love the opportunity to help you today. Give J.R. McFadden, NMLS number 1246357, a call today at 406-465-1918, or you can visit him at 2001 11th Avenue, Building A, Suite 3 in Helena. Major Mortgage is a division of AMCAP Mortgage, NMLS number 129122, equal housing lender.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call State Farm agent Mike Miller in Helena today. Yes, it's true that Montana is a long way from the Gulf Coast, but you can bring that Cajun flavor home with a stop at Cafe Zydeco. From po' boys to classic sandwiches, Cafe Zydeco has all the best Cajun in town. Are you in the mood for seafood gumbo or crawfish etouffee? Maybe you're craving jambalaya with some shrimp and grits. Head in for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or call ahead for pickup or delivery. Cafe Zydeco will fix all your southern cravings, even on a chilly Montana day. Cafe Zydeco is a proud sponsor of The Jason Walker Show. Do you love to look at photos of Montana, from animals to landscapes and more? Are you looking for a place to get your senior pictures or family portraits done? Are you a business owner looking to upgrade the decor in your offices? Well, look no further than Mark LaRoe Photography. Mark has been shooting beautiful photos all across the Treasure State, from rodeos to portraits, and would love to work with you. Visit marklaroephotography.com to see many masterpieces of his work, then give him a call to schedule your own photo shoot. Or to purchase one of his fantastic pieces, stop by Spirit of the Big Sky Gallery on Custer in Helena. marklaroephotography.com.
Store-wide savings are what you'll find when you shop for new home furnishings at Rucker's Furniture. This means tremendous values on Helena's largest in-stock selection of home furnishings. When you shop Rucker's, you'll find store-wide savings on the furniture you want for every room in your home. And you'll also find our selection of Serta iComfort, the most comfortable beds in Helena. 12-month financing is available with approved credit on most purchases over $299. Ask for details. You'll find store-wide savings at Rucker's Furniture, 1010 Dearborn, Helena.
Welcome back to the Jason Walker Show.
Welcome back on a Tuesday, presented by Capital Collision Center inside the Major Mortgage Man Cave. Appreciate Guy Almquist joining us, talking about the change of seasons a little bit as MHSA votes to push back the start of winter sports from November 19th practice to December 7th, and now competitions start after the first of the year, which is great. We'll talk more about that coming up. Jim Carr set to join us, and NAIA president and CEO as well. But I want to get to our next guest on the Mike Miller State Farm Hotline. He is, he's a good reporter. I've actually been reading some of his stuff, but I'm not surprised at that. But his name is Josh Margolis, and he joins us now here on the Jason Walker Show from Havre. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Glad you could have me on the show, bring up some perspective up here from the High Line.
Yeah, it's not very often that we talk to the High Line. Just I think it's kind of forgotten sometimes. But you've got your new athletics director up there from Helena and Brian Kessler. So a lot of connections. I like it. But so before we talk about Havre, you work for New Media Broadcasters. Is that Ron?
Yes, it is Ron Brewski's station.
Brewski,
yes.
Okay, yeah.
It's not. I mean, it's not his station,
right.
But he's a sports guy.
He is, and he does a great job up there. But Brewski has got some great hair. Are you trying to compete with him, hair-wise?
Not really. I've done some sugar beater basketball games. I'm hoping. I heard, as you mentioned, the season's getting pushed back a little bit, but hoping to cover some more sugar beater basketball games. Doing some play-by-play. And
I like it.
Our man Chris Reyes does great with the Havre football play-by-play. Ron handles the Chinook football and Big Sandy when they're in the playoffs.
Yep, I like it. It's a great. You guys got a great job, or do a great job up there. Josh Margolis joining us. All right, so last week I reached out because there was an emergency board meeting at Havre because of COVID. Take me through what started it and kind of how it ended.
Well, it's kind of confusing, but I'll do my best to take you guys through it. They called an emergency board meeting on Friday. They called for it at around probably 9 a.m. The board meet at 3 p.m. to give the public proper notice. The big issue the superintendent brought up is, of many things, is that busing, staffing issues, and getting substitutes in when teachers aren't able to come. And they've changed. They've been in a hybrid format since the start of the school year. It has worked pretty well up to the last couple of weeks, but they've seen absence rates go up. And for every student or staff member that gets COVID, you have, just throwing a number out there, dozens of ending up being close contacts. Now, that would be more if you'd had full-time learning, but the emergency meeting was called. The superintendent, from my understanding, because this is a short week with Thursday and Friday educator conferences, he was hoping that the board would go along with making this entire week, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, virtual, in order to get people out of quarantine and isolation, and so that numbers could be back up in terms of attendance heading into the back half of the fall as we move through the back half of October. It was an interesting meeting, and on 2 votes to 5-3, they voted to continue athletics and make this week still a hybrid learning week. So yesterday was an A day, today was a B day, and Wednesday serves as what a Friday normally would in terms of a remote learning day. And one big issue, and I feel like why the board might have come to that decision, is in part the Hardin team, which Havre was playing. They had their home football game on Friday. They were already on their way up to Havre, and so to just call off athletics abruptly and force that team to head all the way back on that long drive south, I feel like some of the board members didn't want to do that, and there haven't been any COVID cases among the volleyball or football teams. There was a couple football players, I believe, in quarantine, but it didn't really affect their team, or hasn't to this point. So from there's a meeting, not an emergency, but a regularly scheduled board meeting tonight. According to the agenda, the superintendent's going to recommend that they remain in their current phase 2B, which is the hybrid learning model. Now, that could change. He's going to present, as he does at the start of his board meetings, numbers on the number of people in isolation and quarantine, and all of that information that goes along with it. He's also sometimes presented reports from the chief medical director at the Northern Montana Hospital up here. So we'll see what happens. It's really could go either way. It's hard in advance to know what's going to happen, but to say that sports are for sure going to go on as continued, I think is far from a guarantee at this point, especially since that emergency board meeting. They've reported 11 cases in the district that have had contact during the period of possible exposure, 2 that have not, and that included 9 new cases across the district on Sunday that were reported. 5 of which were in either one of the 3 elementary schools, 2 in the middle school, and 2 in the high school. So should be an interesting board meeting tonight.
I bet. Because Hill County in general has exploded 184 cases active today. Nearby, Blaine County with 90, and then you've got Toole County with 164. I mean, there's a lot of cases now up on the High Line that weren't the case, so to speak, a month or so ago.
No, you're absolutely right. All those counties you mentioned are in the New York Times is they're just basic U.S. COVID page. If you scroll down, they have the hot spots in the U.S. counties with the highest number of cases per capita over the last week. All those counties you mentioned are in the top 40 of over 3,000 counties in the U.S. Toole's actually number 1. It does seem like a lot of that outbreak is from the correctional center in Shelby, but you can't say that is the case for other counties like Roosevelt, Glacier, Blaine, as you mentioned, and Hill, and both reservations here within 40 miles of us, as Rocky Boy and Fort Belknap are currently in 14-day shutdowns. Harlem Public School Board actually held a meeting last night. They They were closed since September 28th after a staff member tested positive. And it was a spirited Zoom and in-person board meeting. And the board voted unanimously 5-0 to resume athletics and hybrid learning starting on Monday once that Fort Belknap lockdown is over.
Gotcha. Josh Margolis, our guest here, Jason Walker Show. And this comes, I mean, the reservation, Josh, had suggested or requested, I guess, they didn't want sports the rest of the fall season at all. So this is big news that Harlem gets to play some sports again.
Right. I mean, it was interesting at the board meeting because it was pretty much the superintendent, Doreen Warren, and one of the doctors on the incident command team at Fort Belknap, Jennifer Show. It was almost them against everybody else in terms of they were trying to caution people about the dangers of potentially reopening and especially playing sports. And but every time someone spoke in favor of reopening, including the athletic activities director up there and the wrestling coach, you could hear thunderous applause on the Zoom call.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, we all want sports to happen, and we all want some sort of normalcy. It's just, it seems like Montana's, I think we're third in the country right now in active cases per capita or per 100,000. I don't know how they do that, the 52 per 100,000 or whatever that number is, but it's just not good. That's all we know.
Yeah, I mean, and the problem is cases aren't immediately hospitalized right away, right? I mean, a few weeks ago, Hill County was low single digits in hospitalizations, and not only were we one case away from a daily county record yesterday, because the DPHHS and Hill County report a little bit differently in terms of daily. Hill County goes up to 5 p.m. and then DPHHS is it can include some cases reported in the overnight. But one away from a daily record for new cases with 33, which if you consider we're 1/10 the population of Yellowstone County, right? 16,000 people in Hill County, 160,000 in Yellowstone County. So 33 new cases here is the equivalent of 330 new cases in Yellowstone County, to kind of put that in perspective. And our hospitals is not nearly as big. We have, I believe, between 4 and 6 ICU beds here at Northern Montana Hospital and about 4 ventilators. So, I mean, not only did we have those 33 new cases yesterday, but we had 4 new hospitalizations, now have 7 currently. Lane County has 3. So I love sports just as much as anybody. I want sports to go on, but you have to think of things like the hospitals when you consider doing that. And that's why Superintendent Mueller over at Havre Public Schools regularly gets updates from the medical director over at Northern Montana Hospital when he sends his recommendations to the board.
Sounds like you got some sirens in the background there. Josh Margolis joining us from Havre, New West broadcaster, reporter, and play-by-play guy. It's crazy, and you're obviously a lot smarter than me when you were able to put together those numbers of Hill County and Yellowstone County. But it's pretty simple, right? I mean, wear your mask and social distance. Like, how hard is that?
It shouldn't be that hard, but it's become politicized pretty much everywhere. Thankfully, when you go to places like, Walmart or the IGA here, Gary and Leo's, you see upwards of 80% of people, I'd say, wearing masks. But then there's other places where you go walk into the bar or you see an event going on in town, which are not recommended. The county health department's continuing not to recommend any events over 50 people. But you see compliance is certainly an issue. And I really wish it wasn't. I appreciate earlier, before you called, I heard your little thing about masks. Even though you don't 100% agree with it, you wear it when necessary. And I think that has to be the standard all the way around.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's, I just take it off while you drive. That bothers me.
Right. Unless you're in like an Uber or a Lyft, but we don't have those here. Last I checked, we had one driver. He actually works for Uber and Lyft.
Oh,
in the county.
Nice. In the whole county, not just the city of Havre. Hey, yeah. Josh Margolis, our guest here. All right, let's switch this around. Let's lighten it up a little bit. You are a Minnesota native, so the weather up there doesn't bother you at all. And really living on the High Line is like living in Minnesota.
Sort of. It's definitely windier here because you've got these Chinook winds coming in from the Rockies. But I definitely used to the cold. I was really last winter was my first Montana winter. Not as bad as I feared. It was almost pretty equivalent to a Minnesota winter, but I heard it for the most part it was pretty mild, all things considered.
Yes.
And so I'm not looking forward to this winter. I don't really hate snow except when it comes to driving. The ice is what bothers me, and there's definitely some of that here, just like in Minnesota.
For sure. All right, so you got into broadcasting. You're pretty young. So this is like your dream to be in Havre?
I would not go that far. This is my first media job out of college. I went to Indiana University, go Hoosiers, got a journalism degree there, did some play-by-play and color for BTN Student U for a bunch of sports over there, and got this job, which is some news. Well, it was some news. Now it's pretty much all news as I'm the news director. But some sports when I get time, although usually it's just basketball.
Well, and when Brewski's not being selfish. Yeah, I mean, Brewski's a selfish guy. You can tell him I said that. I think we like each other.
I'll tell him you said that, but I'm not going to comment.
I love it. All right, so I lived in Box Elder for 2 years, and I know you've been to Box Elder, so I feel like I can speak about the High Line and speak about Havre. Havre has it. Just nobody knows what it is except the road out of town. But it's actually the history of Havre. If you get a chance to dive into the history of Havre, it's amazing. It's not the prettiest town, but I love the history and I love the people up there.
I definitely agree with you. And I'd say the museum business is one of the big things here in Havre. Haven't been operated. They've had some financial struggles recently because of the pandemic, of course, but most of them are still doing tours. Beneath the Streets, if you're ever up here, definitely worth a visit. It's not sure if everyone knows the story, but Havre, I guess the legend goes that a patron at a bar threw something, I believe, at a bartender and caused a fire that burned down most of downtown. And there was already an underground brothel and some other things underground, and they just made that sort of how they lived for several months while they were rebuilding. There was a market down there and a bunch of stuff. And it's been kept in really great condition to look just like it did back in the early 1900s.
And that's one thing I've not done is take that tour, and I need to for sure. But again, I got to drive to Havre to do it. But I joke. Yeah. I love Havre. I like to give them a hard time. All right. So what are you expecting, Josh, out of this meeting tonight? Anything or no?
It's hard to say definitively what's going to happen. I would say you can follow me on my Twitter at Margolis News if you want to get real-time updates. I would have to know the subbing numbers and the quarantine isolation where they're at right now to really know for sure. If I had to guess what's going to happen, I would think they probably stay in 2B hybrid learning for now and see how it goes over the next week or so and call an emergency meeting again if necessary. But I definitely don't see them moving to phase 3, which they were looking at about a month ago at the request of some of the board members, moving to 4 or 5 days a week in person. I don't think that's even remotely a possibility anymore. But it's also possible, like I said, they move one or all of the schools in the district back for a period of time to phase 1 to get people out of isolation and quarantine and make sure things, they're ready to go back to phase 2 in the near future. Gotcha. So it'll be an interesting board meeting. They've sent a message on their district website. They want the last meeting had a very unorderly comment process in the Zoom chat. There were a lot of people expressing a lot of different views. And so they're trying to keep it just to the motions on the table, to the Zoom comments. But I don't think there's a way for them to really enact that. So we'll see how it goes.
You can't. So I guess it's like being a moderator at a debate.
Exactly.
Well, and as the board can't mute the Zoom, can they?
I think they figured out a way. They can pretty much mute everyone but the board members.
Okay.
What they've been doing at recent board meetings, they've just been reading when the public comment on the motions. They'll just read them off the chat. Harlem did it a bit differently yesterday. They let a couple people actually speak and unmuted them to give them a chance. Gotcha. But they haven't done that yet with Havre. Not sure the laws on that. school board laws, I don't think they were written probably prior to Zoom, so it's hard to say the legality on all this stuff.
Probably written before the internet, period.
Yeah.
Since you're an Indiana fan or a guy, go Hoosiers, I'll leave you with this note. You ready for this?
Sure.
I was in 7th or 8th grade living in Manhattan, Montana, down by Bozeman, and was good friends with a guy, and my parents were, and we were at dinner, and he brought over, he said, hey, you need to go to this place for dinner because there was a celebrity golf tournament in Bozeman, and all the celebrities were going to be there. And I said, okay, cool. And I was with my younger brother, my mom and dad were having dinner, and Stu Starner, who used to be the coach of the Montana State, started walking over, and he called me Spud because I was short, still am, but he called me Spud, like Spud Webb. And he brings this guy over. My dad goes, that's one of the greatest college basketball coaches ever. And I'm like, Stu? And I didn't know who this guy was. And he sits down and he goes, I want to introduce you to Bobby Knight. And Bobby Knight sat at my table, and he goes, you can eat all those fries because they haven't fed me all day. And Bobby Knight ate all my French fries. And that was my first meeting with Bob Knight. And then I got to interview him right after IU fired him.
He ate all your fries. Well, a couple questions there.
Okay.
He ate all your fries?
He ate all my French fries. All my French fries off my plate.
That's not surprising at all.
Right?
And then, what was the thing he said right after that?
I interviewed him after he got fired at IU.
Yeah. Did it go better than it went for Jeremy Schaap?
A little, because as long as I didn't talk about IU, we were good. He said hunting and fishing only, and I said done. It was halftime of a Bozeman Hawks like women's basketball game, and it was like a 5-6 minute interview, and that's it. We just talked about hunting and fishing.
You're probably going to get a lot better answers out of him. And less curmudgeon-ness, as long as you stay away from basketball.
No doubt about it. Hey, so were you on campus then when he returned, or were you up in Havre last year? Was that?
I was not, but I had some friends on the beat that were there, and yeah, he first came out at like a baseball game, and so only like the beat reporters that would cover IU baseball too were taking photos and getting scoops, but. It's good to see that there's somewhat of a reunion, I guess. And that thing they did at halftime, I think, of the Purdue game this past year was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to chat more about IU and Coach Knight and move forward from that because hopefully we get to talk about actual basketball coming up this year.
We'll do. I know IU actually they had their media day today. Kind of sad. I couldn't catch that. I spent 3 years on the IU basketball beat. That's always one of the more interesting. I guess more interesting. You get a lot of canned answers, but it's a good introduction to the start of the season.
It definitely is. I got a chance to talk with Dan Dockich one time too. His stories about Bob Knight are fantastic. So
I'm sure they are. He's an incredibly polarizing figure himself in Bloomington.
Oh man, you just follow his Twitter. Holy cow.
Yeah.
He's great. Josh Margolis, you're headed that way. I feel it. New West broadcaster, reporter, news director, play-by-play, kind of do it all.
Broadcasters. I got to catch you there.
What's
New
that?
Media broadcasters. New
media. Oh, I'm sorry. Not New West. Okay.
And you can read everything on HighlineToday.com.
HighlineToday.com. At Margolis News.
That's my Twitter.
Is Twitter. So give him a follow. It's a good stuff if you want to stay up to date with what's going on up there on the Highline. Hey, appreciate the time, my man, and we'll talk soon.
No problem. Thanks for giving me a call.
That is Josh Margolis joining us from New Media Broadcasters as we get it right the second time. I apologize, Ron. I love Ron Brewski up there. He's a great dude. Great dude. All right. So there you go. There's an update on the Highline. In lots of cases, like he said, you go across the board, Glacier, Toole, Hill, Valley. I mean, there's Roosevelt. The cases up on the Highline have just exploded. Phillips County only with, or Blaine County, Valley County, both with 90 and 92. Phillips County, just 11 matches their license plate. Malta with 11. Isn't Valley or Phillips County 11? Malta, I think so. I used to know all the license plates in the county seats back in the day when I was younger. But we used to know a lot of mascots too, but those have all changed. Most of them have gone away. So, all right, we'll take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk more about MHSA decision. And when we return to, Jim Carr is going to join us, the president and CEO of the NAIA. NCAA is in the news today for trying to get the name, image, and likeness passed. Looks like Congress is going to pass its own, but the NAIA did it last week. They passed it. NAIA student athletes can make money off their name, image, and likeness. And we'll talk to Jim Carr when we come back here next on the Jason Walker Show. Stay with us.
Fall is officially here, and now is the perfect time to get your rig tuned up before the big hunt. That means a lift kit from Auto Concepts. An Auto Concepts lift kit will help take you places only the animals can go. And when you do get that big one, make sure you have help to get it home with a winch to pull it out. Or maybe you'll be a good friend and help pull someone out of the snowbank. Check out AutoConceptsHelena.com for more ideas. Auto Concepts, the auto enhancement professionals.
Jason Walker here, and I want to tell you about a great place that's going to make you feel better in just an hour. Ocean Spirit Massage. From deep tissue to hot stone and more, Ocean Spirit Massage will get your sore, tired muscles feeling like new. Whether you overdid it working out, hiking the hills, playing golf, whatever it is, or even if you're pregnant, you will walk away feeling better than you have in years. Book now for yourself or make it a couples massage. And gift certificates are always available as well. Visit oceanspiritmassage.com or call 417-0542.
Everyone knows about Dinners Done Right and the convenience of the cook and carry cuisines. It's so easy to just stop by and you have something for dinner that night. But there's also one more thing you need to know about. Dinners Done Right Grab and Go Salad Bar. Yes, I said salad bar. Always the freshest ingredients, along with a daily soup and nacho bar too. So the next time you are in a rush or you just want to eat healthy, stop by Dinners Done Right for the soup, salad, and nacho bar. For monthly menus and more info, it's dinnersdoneright.com. Have you thought about buying a home and just don't know where to begin? Well, when it comes to one of the most important purchases one can make, we understand it can be frustrating and confusing, but it doesn't have to be. Let the Major Mortgage team help you with all your mortgage needs. Major Mortgage means major service, and we would love the opportunity to help you today. Give J.R. McFadden, NMLS number 1246357, a call today at 406-465-1918, or you can visit him at 2001 11th Avenue, Building A, Suite 3 in Helena. Major Mortgage is a division of AMCAP Mortgage, NMLS number 129122, equal housing lender. Do you love to look at photos of Montana, from animals to landscapes and more? Are you looking for a place to get your senior pictures or family portraits done? Are you a business owner looking to upgrade the decor in your offices? Well, look no further than Mark LaRoe Photography. Mark has been shooting beautiful photos all across the Treasure State, from rodeos to portraits, and would love to work with you. Visit marklaroephotography.com to see many masterpieces of his work, then give him a call to schedule your own photo shoot. Or to purchase one of his fantastic pieces, stop by Spirit of the Big Sky Gallery on Custer in Helena. marklaroephotography.com.
New vehicles keep coming, and Capital Collision Center keeps earning certifications to repair them. They're Helena's newest GM-certified facility. No matter the make or year, they repair your car to manufacturer's standards and requirements, maintaining its safety and value. Montana state law says it's your vehicle and it's your choice where you have it repaired. Choose Capital Collision Center, certified in GM, Subaru, and Nissan, and Helena's only shop certified in Honda, Acura, and Ford. When you value safety, go to Capital Collision Center on Euclid.
Jason Walker Show back. Major Mortgage Man Cave. We are presented by Capital Collision Center. Thanks to Josh Margolis. You can follow him at Margolis News on the Twitter. Good stuff with the Haver, with the Highline, and that was fun. Love reaching out and getting new people on the show all the time. One guy that we've had on before is the president and CEO of the NAIA. And last week they passed the name, image, and likeness bill. And that means that student athletes at the NAIA level can now basically make money on their image and their name. And they can say, look, I'm a member of this basketball team, and I can come to your camp, things like that. But to explain more about it is the president and CEO of the NAIA. His name is Jim Carr, great friend of the show, and he joins us now on the Mike Miller State Farm Hotline.
All right. You and I have talked over the last few months about a lot of different things, and this is actually something awesome, something positive to talk about as the NAIA passed officially the name, image, likeness, becoming the first collegiate program to do this, organization to pass it. And this is big legislation.
It is. Yeah, we're excited that our membership got behind doing something that gives our student athletes more opportunities to really be treated like all students, and that is they have special talents outside of athletics or even related to their athletic abilities. They can now pursue those freely without restriction. And really, as you know, Jason, for us, most NAIA student athletes are not getting full scholarships, so this gives them a chance to earn some extra money to help pay for the cost of higher ed. So I think it's a win for everybody.
How long has this been in the works to get this to where it is now officially passed?
Well, specifically, this legislation has been about a year in the works, but we really started loosening some of our rules around amateurism and name, image, and likeness 4 or 5 years ago. And so it's been kind of evolved over time. And this particular legislation really eliminated the few restrictions that were left, mostly around students being able to point to their association with a particular institution or a team as they're going out and promoting themselves. So if you're a softball pitcher and you want to get pitching lessons, now you can say, I'm a softball pitcher at Carroll College, and I'm willing to give your kids pitching lessons for this amount. And whereas before they could give the pitching lessons, but they couldn't market themselves as an NAIA student athlete.
Gotcha. Jim Carr, the NAIA president and CEO, joining us here on the Jason Walker Show. Is there any concern about certain players, certain sports making or getting more than others, or is it just because it's a blanket individual, you do your own thing now?
Yeah, I think when it comes to competition, as you know, whether it's collegiate or even all the way down to youth sports, everybody's always thinking someone else is getting an advantage. So we're hearing from our more rural schools saying, well, this is going to help schools in Chicago because there are more people who would be willing to support student athletes in this way. And then the schools in Chicago say, well, we have to compete with the Cubs and the Bears and everybody else. So people don't really pay attention to our schools, but if you're in a rural area, that's a big deal. And therefore the star quarterback can get the car dealership or somebody to pay more attention to them. I think in general at the NAIA level, there'll be some of that going on, but I think mostly it's around allowing our students to do things that are mostly away from their athletic ability or not necessarily tied to their status as a quarterback or what have you, but just put them on the same level with other institutions, with other students to take advantage of other talent.
The NAIA athletes have always been able to work in the off season or even during a season. Correct? If I'm wrong, but they just haven't been able to get paid as an NAIA student athlete. Is that the big difference? Like they could work at a gas station or work at wherever. They just couldn't say, hey, look, I play football for such and such school.
That's right, and for the most part, that's true. There were some things like we had some students who were also had a modeling career on the side, or they wrote a kid's book or did some things that you would think would be, well, that's a no-brainer. That has nothing to do with name, image, and likeness or being tied to the institution. But because it's really hard to separate completely the promotion of those kinds of things from their association with the institution, a lot of times those would become problematic. Or, a more recent example is we had a young woman who was playing football at Central Methodist, and it was a big deal to Toyota and lots of people. She was the first, non-kicker to play college football, and so Toyota did a commercial with her that ran in the Super Bowl, and we had to really go to great lengths to make sure that they didn't tie her at all to Central Methodist and didn't do certain things so that it wouldn't infringe upon her eligibility. Now with the passage of this, those things are not a problem.
Are you worried about people saying the amateurism is gone? Because they're not getting paid from the university or the institution. They're getting paid on their own. I mean, it's still amateurism.
Yeah. For me personally, I think the the line in the sand of amateurism is kind of when the Olympics did away with it, it's for the most part gone away. I mean, people, to me, it just doesn't hold up much anymore. I know the NCAA is still trying to hold on to some. They're now calling it the collegiate model as opposed to amateurism, and there's probably some value in that. But for us, it just wasn't worth worrying too much about amateurism anymore. We still have amateurism rules. If you go play professional baseball, you have to get reinstated in the NAIA, or possible that you can get reinstated. So we're not looking to have a bunch of minor league professionals who drop out of minor league baseball all of a sudden come into the NAIA. But at the same time, we want to give everybody an opportunity to get an education and play sports that they love. So we don't want to get hung up on technicalities around those kinds of things.
The name, image, likeness, of course, has been a big deal at the upper level of the NCAA. Normally, NAIA follows NCAA steps as far as rules and all this stuff. How long before the NCAA copies the NAIA now?
Well, we're trying to change that, Jason. We're trying to get them to follow us, and hopefully, in this case, they will for their student athletes. I think in Division II, it looks like they're headed in this direction. Division I, my view of it is they want to head in this direction, but it's so much more complex, and there's so much more money involved that I think they're going to continue to struggle as to how they come at it.
Well, congratulations on getting the NIL pass, because I know that's a big thing for student athletes at the NAIA level. Jim Carr, the president and CEO of the NAIA, joining us here. There was also some news that came out this week. More schools are being added to the NAIA, and I think that's a fantastic thing.
Yeah, we're really excited. We had 5 come in the spring when our council presidents voted, and then we have a second cycle now for memberships. We had 3 more coming in the fall. 2 of them were NCAA members coming back to the NAIA, and that's becoming more of a trend. So we're really happy about that. I think there's certainly a place for Division II and Division III, but also I think there are a number of schools, quite a few schools in both of those divisions that belong in the NAIA. So we'll continue to get the word out and talk with them, and hopefully get a lot of them back.
Is it like recruiting? Is that what you're doing?
Essentially, recruiting / sales. We're trying to make sure that those that we've identified that fit the profile of an NAIA school, trying to make sure they understand that the NAIA is out there, and then if they're interested in further discussions where we talk about the value that the NAIA brings, and so it's good, a little bit of recruiting, a little bit of a sales effort.
Jim Carr, our guest here, Mike Miller, State Farm Hotline. I'm going to ask this now that we have the championship seasons kind of set in the spring. We start working backwards. Football schedules are going to start coming out soon, but more importantly, where are we at for basketball?
Yeah, we made a decision a couple weeks ago to leave the winter calendar as is. We were getting a lot of pressure from our members and others to make some decisions, and the data and the information we have right now wasn't compelling enough to move off of our current schedule. So we're instructing our schools to, as they feel it's safe to do so, to start their basketball schedule. Some are going to wait and start closer to the first of the year, but others are starting here pretty soon, and we're going to push for men's basketball to be in Kansas City in the middle of April. Middle of March. We know that just with COVID, you don't know what's going to happen. So we're looking at alternatives in case we would need to adjust or change. But our hope and our belief is that we can keep the calendar as it is. So that's the way we're proceeding.
And then with football, you look at just the Frontier specifically, and there's talk of them playing in a bubble, like going to Pocatello and Moscow, Idaho to play in the domes, at least in February and March when it's cold up here in Montana.
Right.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I certainly understand needing to find places in the colder climates when, to play football in February and probably into March. So, if they can get creative and do it safely, I think that's great.
Anything big coming up that we should know about before ahead of time?
We're continuing to look at ways to drive value for members and help them figure out the positive impact that athletics can have on the institution, and trying to balance that with just trying to figure out all things COVID. So nothing quite as big as name, image, and likeness on the radar right now, but I'm sure in the days to come we'll have some exciting things to talk to you about.
I look forward to it. You're welcome anytime. NAIA President and CEO Jim Carr. I know we have some teams playing football right now, which is great. I'm part of a media thing on the Twitter that votes on this every week, and it's weird to vote on teams that aren't playing because they're not going to play till the spring. But there's still some good football being played right now, especially in the Midwest.
Yeah, we have about half our conferences, about half the schools intended to start in the fall, and it's been with mixed results in some areas. Some few conferences have had hardly any postponements, and then a couple have had 40 to 50% postponements. But they're all still moving forward. And as you were talking about, we just had a discussion today about ratings and qualifications and how do you judge a conference that might get in 7 or 8 games in the fall compared to others who don't start until January or February. So it's going to be a challenge. It's certainly not going to be perfect, but as we were talking about a little bit off air, at some point most people were just happy to be playing at all, and then once you get into it, then you get the competitive juices come back out, and people start complaining about the ratings and how things are working. But my belief is if we can just allow our student athletes to compete and play, that's the first hurdle, and then we'll worry about the competitive side of it and making sure. Even in good times, you never get a completely level playing field, but certainly we want to make it as fair as we possibly can.
Well, you guys are doing a pretty good job as it is working through all of this since March, and it's been enlightening to chat with you, and I've learned a few things. But congratulations on the NIL getting passed, because I know that's a big deal for student athletes, like I said, and brings them up to par with regular students, and it's fantastic. So congratulations to you and the board on that.
Well, thanks, Jason. It's always great to visit with you as well, and certainly hope I see you in Municipal Auditorium come March.
Man, I'd love to be down in KC, get some barbecue and watch some great basketball.
That's right. Sounds good to me, too.
Yep. Thanks you, sir.
Take care, Jason. Appreciate it.
Jim Carr joining us on the Mike Miller State Farm Hotline, and NIL is a big, big deal. I know everybody on the NCAA level is freaking out because they're going to get NCAA football, Madden game, whatever back. But I could not care less about the video game as opposed to these student athletes being able to get a buck or two. Like I said, I could sponsor somebody and pay them, but got to pay me first. Anyway, so if you miss anything today, big show talking with Guy Almquist and Josh Margolis and Jim Carr. You can go to jasonwalkershow.com for anything. All right, so here's what MHSA came out and said today. They have delayed the start of winter sports seasons from November 17th to December 7th for practices to begin. And then games and matches for basketball and wrestling now will start at the end or the beginning of January as opposed to December. So about 3-week time difference. And if you missed Guy Almquist earlier, he said, look, his gut reaction is he likes this. And you can go back and listen to that, like I said, but you look at more than 30 high school football games and volleyball matches have been postponed or canceled right now. And volleyball, like basketball and wrestling, is played indoors. So, it'll be interesting. The schedule is going to be interesting to change that a little bit, but I like it. I like moving it to January. Let's see. Volleyball districts and divisionals are still on as scheduled. Class AA is going to a playoff format like football. MHSA is still searching for sites. They're not going to have the all-class volleyball tournament at Brick Breeden Fieldhouse. Well, they can't. For one, MSU can't host anything, but you can't have that many people around. Football, volleyball, soccer allowed 6 passes for uniform player, 4 for each alternate manager, 2 for each coach, 2 for each cheerleader, up to 12. But that comes into effect it's affected by each county's health department. So cross country, which will be run up at Flathead. Is that right? By the way, if we're not having overnights, why is cross country 2 days long in one city? Question. I'll have to look into that. No student sections or bands at postseason events, according to Mark Beckman. Swimming. Let's not forget about swimming in the winter, too. So
All right. I would think chlorine has a pretty good chance of getting rid of the COVID, but I could be wrong. So appreciate everybody for joining us today. All right. And if you want to weigh in on this, you can anytime. Email, tweet, Facebook, call the show. Did I get to everything I wanted to talk about today? Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's do On This Day in History. It is October the 13th. It is Train Your Brain Day, Yorkshire Pudding Day, Breast Cancer Awareness Day. It is also No Bra Day today. And I'm working from home, I'm sure, since March. A lot of ladies have not been wearing their bras, which is they probably love. I know some dudes that should probably be wearing a bra. It is the Navy's birthday. 1775, the first U.S. Navy forms when the Continental Congress orders construction of a naval fleet. So happy birthday to the Navy. 1792, Old Farmer's Almanac first published. 1792 as well on this date. The cornerstone laid for the Executive Mansion later became the White House. 1903, the Boston Americans win the inaugural Baseball World Series, beating the Pittsburgh Pirates in Game 8 for a 5-3 series victory. 1914, the Boston Braves would sweep the Philadelphia A's, the first sweep in World Series history. 1915, the Boston Red Sox would beat the A's in the 12th series. 1960, Pirates' Bill Mazeroski's bottom of the ninth leadoff home run would beat the Yankees 10-9, Game 7 of the 57th World Series. This is what it looked and sounded like.
There's a drive into deep left field. Look out now. That ball is going down. Hits it over the left field fence for a home run, and the Pirates win it 10-9 and win the World Series.
That is the only walk-off in Game 7 of a World Series. How about that? Joe Carter had a walk-off, but it was not Game 7. Pretty cool. All right. Let's see what else is going on this day in history. Where are we at? 1967, the first American Basketball Association game was played. Oakland Oaks beat the Anaheim Amigos 132-129. The red, white, and blue ball and three-point field goal introduced. 1971, the first World Series night game. 1982, the International Olympic Committee approves the reinstatement of Jim Thorpe's gold medals from the 1912 Olympics. They said he was a pro, they took him away, and then they gave him back, rightfully. 1993, the Mighty Ducks would win their first NHL game. Not Emilio Estevez's Mighty Ducks, but the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. 2019, Simone Biles becomes the most decorated gymnast in history. She wins a record 25th medal at the World Championships at Stuttgart. All right, happy birthdays today. 1931, Eddie Matthews, 512 career home runs. 1938, Mahbub Shah, a Pakistani cricketer. Mahbub Shah. 1942, Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones was born. 1962, Jerry Rice. Sammy Hagar, born on this date, 1947. 1959, Marie Osmond was born. And she still looks good at 61. Kelly Preston was born on this date, 1962. She just passed away over the summer. One death today. Milton Hershey died in 1945. Yes, that Hershey from Hershey Chocolate Company. So there you go. All right, let's do this.
We're almost at the end of the show. What did we learn? And what did he miss? Time for the walk-off.
The walk-off is brought to you by Cafe Zydeco. Make sure you stop by 625 Euclid in Helena. They're also in Bozeman and Billings, and they're open today through Friday, 11 to 8, Saturday, 9 to 3 here in Helena, and breakfast served all day. I did want to get to a couple of quick scores. The Hellgate girls beat Flathead in the playoffs today, 5-1. Gallatin defeats Great Falls High 1-0 for the girls. The Bozeman boys also winning 2-1 over Belgrade. Let's see. At the half here in town, Capital Helena boys tied at 0. which would be a scoreless tie, which would just, they're scoreless. There's no score. And also at the half girls soccer, Helena High girls, a 1 seed, 7-0 over Butte. And that's at the half. That's at the half. And then the Hellgate boys lead 1-0. Against Big Sky. So, all right, there you go. Okay. So the Frontier Conference announced its basketball preseason players of the year and preseason basketball teams. On the men's side, Zacchaeus Darko Kelly, no surprise, out of Providence, is projected to be the player of the year. He is the preseason player of the year, as voted on by coaches. The all-conference team for the preseason on the men, Sindhu Diallo of Tech, Taylor England of Tech. That kid has just gotten so much better, literally year by year. I love Taylor England playing at Tech. Loved him in high school at Helena High, and he's just gotten so much better at Tech. Jackson Hashley out of Providence, Maceo McCadney from Northern, and Jovan Slavanchinin from Carroll. On the women's side, preseason player of the year, Parker Esri of Providence. I can't agree with that. Just can't. Put her on the all-conference team, I agree, but I just can't see. But I can't vote, so it's all coaches. Her teammate, Emily Maldonado, also on the preseason all-conference team. And I think Emily was the preseason pick last year. Chloe Thatcher from Rocky can shoot lights out. Christine Denny, Danny Wagner from Carroll, and then Mesa Williams from Tech. And I've talked about her both on this show and back when I used to do games. I absolutely love Mesa Williams' game. She's a senior now at Tech and has been so steady since her freshman year at a White Sulphur Springs. Love Mesa Williams at Tech. And I can say, I said it before when I was associated with Carroll, but now that I'm not, I love Mesa Williams' game. And she's a great girl. Same with Taylor England down at Tech. See, not everything is bad about Tech. And I just hope that people learn how to pronounce Jovan Slavanchinin's name this year. I mean, it's been 2 years, people. Learn how to pronounce his name. All right. Is that it? I think so. Oh, Carroll College. I saw this today in the Helena IR. Carroll College learned of 14 new COVID cases over the weekend. We know at least 10 are associated with sports. 8 positives were previously reported at Carroll. See, here's the thing. I don't think Carroll's being completely honest with its numbers. I really don't. Now, I know a lot of cases in the athletics were with student athletes in the summer. But at least 10 right now. Everything except cross country has been shut down. Practices and everything, and weight room at Carroll. I don't think they're being 100% honest. Just saying. Big show. Had a great time today. So, hope you enjoyed it as well. Guy Almquist talking basketball and Lakers. We had Josh Margolis from Havre. We had Jim Carr from the NAIA. Again, if you missed anything, go to jasonwalkershow.com. Big show tomorrow, too. We're going to talk to one of the football coaches in town. I'm not sure which one yet. One of them. Brittany Jackson will join us. The Tennessee Lady Vol is back. We talked to her in May. She's got an online auction, proceeds benefiting a scholarship fund in her mom's name, and it's a virtual auction. Unbelievable stuff you can bid on. We will talk to Brittany Jackson tomorrow, right here on the show. If you missed anything, go to jasonwalkershow.com. Appreciate all of our great sponsors. We are presented by Capital Collision Center. We'll see you back here tomorrow. 4 o'clock, Brittany Jackson. Jason Walker Show.
The Jason Walker Show is produced by the Jason Walker Media Company. Any reuse, rebroadcast, or retransmission without the express written consent of the Jason Walker Show is strictly prohibited. Just listen, watch, and enjoy.